Later with Mo Kelly.
KFI AM 640. It's Later with Mo Kelly. We're live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. In 1978, Dr. Ronald McNair was selected as one of 35 applicants from a pool of 10,000 for the NASA astronaut program. McNair flew as a mission specialist on STS-41B aboard Space Shuttle Challenger back on February 3rd through February 11th, 1984, becoming the second African American to fly in space. But on January 28th, 1986, 39 years ago today, McNair perished as part of the Challenger crew.
T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. We have main engine start. 4, 3, 2, 1, and liftoff. Liftoff of the 25th Space Shuttle mission, and it has cleared the tower.
Control program. Roger, roll, Challenger. Good roll program confirmed. Challenger now heading downrange. Engines beginning throttling down now at 94%. Normal throttles for most of the flight, 104%. We'll throttle down to 65% shortly. 1 minute 15 seconds. Velocity 2,900 feet per second. Altitude 9 nautical miles. Downrange distance 7 nautical miles.
Looks like a couple of the solid rocket boosters blew away from the side of the shuttle in an explosion.
Flight controllers here looking very carefully at the situation. Obviously a major malfunction. We have no downlink.
Right now, his older brother, Carl McNair, founder of McNair Achievement Programs, author and STEM education consultant, joins me now on the show as we pay remembrance to him and the rest of the Challenger crew. Carl, my friend, great to talk to you again. How have you been?
Oh, I'm doing very well, Brother Mo. Did I call you Brother Mo?
Yes, you can, because we are brothers.
That's right.
Aside from your younger brother's exploits, his academic exploits, which included a PhD in physics from MIT, Ronald McNair was a saxophonist, a jazz enthusiast. He was a man of Omega Psi Phi fraternity, like you and me. He was a 5th degree black belt in karate. When I was a young teenager, I wanted to be Ronald McNair. But who was your brother beyond what most often is publicly shared?
Well, Ron was like anybody else. Many people think he was like a bookworm, but Ron was, as we were growing up, he was on the football team, the baseball team, he ran track, and just like any other kid, but he had an insatiable thirst for knowledge. That was Ron in a nutshell.
When he was doing his thing, be it a baseball diamond or track field or any of his other exploits, did you see something in him which said he's not going to choose any of that? He's going to be a scientist. He is going to do something in the STEM field.
Yes. Not to mention that he was very good at science and math, and yes, he was very good at the sports and what have you. But I think it was this particular time when he had a little accident at home where he gashed his kneecap, and instead of going through the pain and agony of having gashed your kneecap, he started showing me the ligaments and the muscle. I knew something was strange about this guy.
What was home like for you and your family? Were your parents really tough on you as far as school? Did they encourage you to pursue certain careers? What was life like growing up in the McNair household?
Well, my mother only went to the 11th grade, Brother Moore, and my father only went to the 8th grade. And my mother only went to the 11th grade because they wouldn't allow black people to go past the 11th grade in this segregated town in South Carolina. But she did find a way to go on to school, and we saw her tenacity throughout our lives and all for education, and I think that inspired us. My dad, he would say, "Hey, look, whatever you want to do, just do it well. If you're going to be a bum, be a good bum." That was his advice.
Do you remember when, or was there a singular moment when Dr. McNair maybe came to you and said, Carl, I have this dream of becoming an astronaut, or I'm going to apply for the NASA astronaut program? Do you remember that moment? Was there a moment like that?
Well, there was a moment like that, and I'll tell you about that moment, but I'll tell you how he got to that point. Ron, I remember Ron had finished his education at A&T, where he and I started at the same time. That's North Carolina A&T in Greensboro, North Carolina. And it was through A&T where he got the opportunities to spend a summer at MIT, and thereby having a look at MIT. MIT had a look at him, and he knew the professors, and that made it, I won't say easier, but sometimes when you've made relationships and connections in your network, it makes it a little easier. But it wasn't before he had some self-doubts early on while he was at A&T whether he could compete, because he ran into these guys who was in the physics program, and they came from these schools from up north. They had all of these great math and science courses. In fact, they had physics, thermodynamics, and classical mechanics, and modern physics. And Ron only had a class of physics 101 taught by a teacher who never saw a book of physics. So he came in at a disadvantage. Almost quit but to become a music major, but his advisor, which you can only find, we like to think that way, but usually at HBCUs, you'll find folks will make certain that you get what you need. She encouraged him to go try physics. That was the confidence that he needed. He went on and tried physics, and the rest is history.
It was a bitter cold but sparkling clear morning at Cape Canaveral. Here at the last seconds of the countdown.
3, 2, 1, and liftoff. Liftoff of the 25th Space Shuttle mission, and it has cleared the tower.
All the communications between the shuttle and mission control indicated everything was going fine. There was a sense of relief that the much-delayed flight was finally underway.
Engines at 65%, 3 engines running normally, 3 good fuel cells, 3 good APUs. Engines throttling up, 3 engines now at 104%.
Challenger, go at throttle up. Challenger, go at throttle up.
It happened just over 1 minute into flight.
1 minute, 15 seconds. Velocity 2,900 feet per second. Altitude 9 nautical miles. Downrange distance 7 nautical miles.
From mission control, silence. Then the bland, chilling report.
We have a report from the flight dynamics officer that the vehicle has exploded. Flight director confirms that. We are looking at checking with the recovery forces to see what can be done at this point.
A search effort couldn't begin for some 15 minutes after this. Debris, they said, just kept raining from the sky. The head of the Space Shuttle program had no explanations, just sorrow at the tragedy.
At 11:40 a.m. this morning, space program experienced a national tragedy with the explosion of the Space Shuttle Challenger approximately a minute and a half after launch from here at the Kennedy Space Center.
Computer-enhanced video shows the explosion in detail. One explosion appears to happen at the rear of the spacecraft, around the main engines, perhaps in one of the 2 solid rocket boosters. Then a blast higher up. The shuttle was instantly a blazing fireball. NASA has appointed a committee of top engineers and scientists to investigate the catastrophe. Orders have been issued to impound all records concerning the flight, down to the personal notes of all the flight controllers. Dan Molina, NBC News at the Johnson Space Center, Houston.
My guest on the line right now is Carl McNair, the older brother of Dr. Ronald McNair, who perished 39 years ago today on Challenger 51L. If you're old enough to remember, it changed history. We'll have more with Carl McNair in just a moment.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
And I'm right in the middle of a very special conversation. On this day, 39 years ago, STS-51L Space Shuttle Challenger exploded. If you're old enough like me to remember, it changed history. Right now on the line with me is Carl McNair, the older brother of Dr. Ronald McNair, who perished along with 6 other astronauts on this day 39 years ago. And Carl, I think I remembered, I know you remember the space shuttle program. It was after the Apollo missions, the mandate, the direction of the space program was just different. What was your brother's aspiration beyond the space shuttle program? Did he want to go maybe one day back to the moon? Where did he think his astronaut career would take him?
Well, all along, Ronald wanted to be a college professor. But when the opportunity came to apply to NASA, he knew there was a latent desire to become an astronaut. But remember now, during the dark times of the Gemini and Apollo, you had to be military. You had to be a fighter pilot. You had to be 20/20 visions. You couldn't be black. And of course, he certainly didn't fit the requirement of being a fighter pilot because he never flew a plane. He never was in the military. So when the space shuttle program came around, this was NASA's opportunity to have a more diverse space program. So you had women, you had other ethnicities, like whites, etc. And that's when he took advantage of that. So that's how he took advantage of it. And there was always this latent desire, as I said. I think Star Trek, that was a big plus for a lot of young people to consider science degrees or work in the area of science or STEM, if you will. And it probably was motivated by one person more so than anyone else, and that was Lieutenant Uhura, played by Nichelle Nichols on Star Trek. Let me tell you, folks who go back that time will understand. That was our Halle Berry during those days.
Carl, let me ask you this, because I have to ask you within the context of what's going on today. The whole idea of DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, is controversial, for lack of a better description. And it's been met with a lot of resistance. But you're telling me, if not for the public calls to diversify NASA, we would not have heard about Dr. Ronald McNair or his exploits or his contributions within NASA. Is that correct?
Absolutely, and probably for women as well. They didn't have any women, and it was the new space program where they had decided to diversify. I might add that was under the administration, Jimmy Carter, President Jimmy Carter's administration, so that kind of fits, doesn't it? And so that's how that came about. It would be very challenging today. I've thought about this recently, obviously, that being that I posted a picture of the Space Shuttle Challenger 51L crew, and I thought to myself, would this have been possible today? Would have been possible.
Since we're there, let's talk about it now directly. I remember where I was when I got the news that the Challenger Space Shuttle 51L had exploded shortly after takeoff 39 years ago this week. I was a junior in high school. I was walking in between Spanish and AP English classes. I remember the cloud around the very public investigation afterward. You know, all this is just like seared in my memory. There have been plenty of documentaries and movies over the years. And Carl McNair, I've known you for some 20 years and I've never asked you, but I'm asking you now, have we, the general public, or at least the families, gotten the full truth surrounding Challenger?
Quite frankly, we have no real idea. We know some of the reports. We've seen some documentaries and found out more, but the answer is no.
How do you look upon that some 39 years later? Well,
I'm very after, quite frankly, as somebody said, whatever they tell me, it's not going to bring Juan back, not going to bring any of the crew back. So I focus on the positive. As you well know, we have a Ronald McNair Scholars Program. We have over 5,000 McNair Scholars Program, McNair Scholars in the program right now. We've seen folks go on to do remarkable things in the areas of science, technology, engineering, math, as well as other professions as well. You know, for instance, Congresswoman Nakima Williams from Georgia, she's a McNair Scholar. And there's others who have achieved great things who are McNair Scholars. And had it not been for the program, as I heard from a person as early as today, had it not been for that program, they never would have achieved the level of success that they have. And the whole idea is to inspire them to go into graduate school, ultimately to get a PhD or some other doctorate degree and return and be that person in front of the classroom that many of them found themselves absent of. So that's the essence of the program.
Carl McNair, my time is running short with you, but I know earlier this evening, and I appreciate you coming on this such short notice, but earlier this evening there was a candlelight vigil for Dr. McNair and Dr. Ronald E. McNair Life History Memorial Park in Lake City, South Carolina, where he was born. This is an annual event to keep his memory alive. Along those lines, what do you hear from the young people who may not have any memory of him but are now first learning about him?
Well, we've found over the years that the first thing young people must do, be exposed to possibilities out there. As you've heard before, you can't be what you can't see. And so we showed them not only the professionals who are in those areas as well. The Candlelight Visuals is the annual event, if you will, to remember. In our small town, Lake City, South Carolina, when we were coming along, it was no more than population, 2,000. Now maybe it's around 8 if you fudge it a little bit. And people need to remember that here as a country boy from Lake City, South Carolina, as I mentioned, population 2,000, and segregated South Carolina, was almost thrown out the library. But he came out of his environment, went on to become an astronaut. And it was because of the upbringing, the school teachers at the time that we had. And we remember the school teachers as well. If it had not been for them to inspire Ron to go to the summer program at Virginia Union, which is another HBCU. And that's when he got the idea from a professor that he could go all the way to the PhD. Didn't know what it was, but he was going to receive a PhD after learning that was the highest academic level that you could achieve. And so that was the spark right there that carried him on, and some great advisors. And he didn't get there by himself. I want everybody to think that he just, got to that level by himself. But people along the line, I call them guardian angels, kind of looking over his shoulder and make certain he takes the right direction.
He is Carl McNair, founder of McNair Achievement Programs, author, and STEM education consultant. He, like me and Dr. Ronald McNair, are men of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. Carl McNair, I said it earlier, I'll say it again. I've known you for about 20 years. I've appreciated our dialogues off air about your brother and your brother's achievements, and I want to celebrate you and yours as well. Thank you for coming on the show tonight, and let's keep Ronald McNair's memory alive.
Thank you, Brother Kelly.
It's Later with Mo Kelly. KFI AM 640. We're live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
And you've been hearing the updates. We're excited here. Fire aid is almost here. We were talking about this just off air before the show about how much we're excited by not only the fact that we had the fire coverage, but there's something good which is going to come out of it, where we as a community can come together and make sure that these individuals who've lost their homes, these individuals who don't know where to turn next, may have lost their businesses, can get, at least on a small level, some help. And we told you about fire aid before it was even going to be called fire aid, before they even had any artists who were signed up. We told you about the process. Here's what's going to happen. And you'll see these big names rolling in. And now the big names are here for fire aid, which is going to be on Thursday, January 30th at both 6 p.m. and 7:30 p.m. between two different venues, the Kia Forum and the Intuit Dome. And let's say you can't get there in person, you can watch it on Max. You can watch it on Amazon Prime Video, Direct Stream, Apple TV, Hulu, Disney Plus, Direct TV, Peacock, Paramount Plus, NBC News Now, Netflix Tudum, YouTube TV, Amazon Music, you can listen, Apple Music, you can listen, Spotify, SiriusXM, iHeartRadio, of course, SoundCloud, Amazon Live, TikTok, FanDuel. It goes on and on and on. What about tickets? Well, I'm glad you asked. The tickets are available right now, and you can get them at Ticketmaster.com. What time is the concert? Tell you again, starts at 6 o'clock at the Kia Forum. The doors open at 5. The Intuit Dome will begin at 7:30. Doors also open at 5 p.m. And if you live in and around Inglewood like me, well, you're just SOL. Don't try to drive in that area if you don't actually have to be in that area. Well, what if you want to watch both concerts? Well, you probably won't want to go to the venue if you want to see both concerts. But in an effort to ensure people can at least experience as much of the Fire Aid benefit show as possible. Fans who buy tickets for Intuit Dome will be able to view the Kia Forum show when it begins on screens inside the Intuit Dome. Conversely, when the Kia Forum show ends, fans inside will be able to view the acts at Intuit Dome on screens at the Kia Forum until the end of the event. If you're wondering how much tickets are going to cost, well, they start at $99, but here's the good news. 100% of ticket purchases go to benefit fire aid relief efforts, with all venue and ticketing service fees waived. So the price you see is the price you will actually pay, and 100% of that ticket goes to benefit fire aid relief efforts. Now, you will have the opportunity to go either show, but you probably won't be able to go to both show. In other words, tickets are only valid for the venue that you select. So be very clear. Are you buying tickets for Kia Forum or Intuit Dome? Because it will not let you, even though they're right down the street from each other, you're not going to be able to drive back and forth, maybe spend an hour at one venue, then go over to the other venue. No, they will have screens inside, but you will not be allowed entrance or access to both venues. And the question I usually get is, can I watch it? Yes. Some of us will just be watching it. I know we may have it on the screens in here inside the studio at KFI. Obviously, we can't listen to it per se, but we can watch what's going on. But you can watch it through all those devices and streaming apps I told you about. You can listen to any of the FM stations here at iHeartMedia LA. They'll all be broadcasting the concert, and it's going to be a wonderful, wonderful event. And I haven't gone over yet. Let me go over it one more time about some of the acts which are going to be performing. This is just some of the acts. I expect some last minute, late announcements about huge performers. But right now, we know at the Intuit Dome, you're going to have Billie Eilish, Gracie Abrams, Lil Baby. Shout out to Mark Runner.
That's what you had me at the infant.
Mark, you have always been a Lil Baby fan.
Thank you.
It's my job to give credit where credit is due. Lady Gaga, Olivia Rodrigo, Katy Perry, and if that wasn't good enough, Stevie Wonder, the Stevie Wonder, Tate McRae, Sting, and more. In other words, they have other artists which they will be announcing in the next 24 hours. At the Kia Forum, let's say, I love Intuit Dome, but I'm more interested in going to the Kia Forum. Well, here's what's waiting for you. Alanis Morissette, Green Day, Dave Matthews, and John Mayer, Red Hot Chili Peppers, No Doubt, Pink, and some other surprise guests that they will be announcing. And you can listen to all this on the iHeartRadio app. Of course, you can listen to it on our terrestrial radio stations. I told you about our FM radio stations. I'm talking about My FM or Real 92.3 or Coast 103.5, Kiss FM 102.7. There's so many ways that you can enjoy, but more importantly, participate in this tremendous event for the benefit for victims of these fires. We've been telling you about them. We've been covering them for the better part of 2.5 weeks. And now we can move from the crisis portion to the recovery portion. And we have Nick Poliokini in the studio who knows a little bit about music. We have Twala Sharp in the studio who knows a little bit about music. And I know just a little bit about music. And I can tell you it's rare. And it's good that it's rare given the circumstances. It's rare you have this much talent together under one roof, much less two roofs.
Well, yeah, and I think it's going to be really interesting to see exactly what happens and what this is. Because the last time we did this was we had like Farm Aid and we've had all these different aid concerts throughout time. But I'm really curious to see how this is going to play out. Because, I mean, you've got two venues, you've got two completely different setups. What is it going to be? Is it going to be something akin to a telethon like we've been used to kind of down that Farm Aid path? Is it just going to be straight music? Like, what exactly is the breakdown going to be?
Here's something that I noticed that is really different and significant. You talked about or mentioned Live Aid, Farm Aid. That was in a stadium.
Right.
This is much more intimate.
Correct.
When you're in an arena of, let's say, 19 to 20,000 people as opposed to 80, 90,000 people, which as a concert goer is far more attractive. For me, all this talent, and I'll say a relatively small arena, and you got other big names which are coming between now and Thursday. Look out.
Oh, I agree.
I'm hoping to see some really, really, really unique,
acoustic performances.
See, that's
Some
it.
Really, really personal, intimate performances.
How is it you know that, and why would you expect that?
Because from doing shows like this, where you have artists who are coming out who are not doing their normal concert setup, whenever I've been involved in producing a show like this.
You produce shows like this?
I've had quite a history behind producing major.
You produce shows with some of these artists, as a matter of fact.
As a matter of fact, lots of these artists.
Oh,
how
okay.
about that? How about lots of these artists? When you have shows like this, a lot of times an artist will come out with their signature musician team. They will have a small arrangement team, maybe a keyboard player, guitar, upright bass, just the things that they need to just really knock out a show real fast, unless they're going to perform to track, a la maybe a Little Baby may perform to track to kind of help things move along. But with artists like Billie Eilish and the likes, and even Stevie Wonder, who will just come out and say, hey, you know what? In order to make the show flow, I'm going to come out and do my big hit. I'm going to do another song, which I will dedicate directly to the victims of the wildfires, say, God bless you. Good night. And that is what we will see a lot of, because this is a lot of acts to pack into one night on a Thursday night. The show isn't going on all night long.
No, it isn't.
So these are also union houses that have to.
What does that mean,
down. They have to shut down at a certain time. Lights got to go on. Otherwise, and I know, God bless you, Steve Ballmer, for picking up the tab. But there does come a limit. And he will have to say, lights got to go on at 11.
This is a show, as a performer, you want to perform early. You definitely want to perform early, because people are going to invariably take more time than they're supposed to. There are going to be some logistical issues getting people on and off stage, maybe some technical difficulties. And if you're, let's say, the 9th or 10th act and it's getting late in the evening, you may be asked to cut a song from your set.
Easily. I mean, like anyone going, I want to make sure you're going knowing that these are not full concert performances. Just if they come out and do a song, if they donate, because remember, these artists are donating their time. These are artists who are getting paid millions upon millions of dollars to go on tour. I want you to know, if they come out and they are able to donate a song or two, then cheer them on like it is the best thing you've ever seen, because they are donating their time to quite possibly one of the most worthy causes of this century, I would say. And so I salute you, and shout out to the technical crew, behind the scenes crew, back house, staging, everyone ahead of time, because I know it is going to be hectic.
And let me put it in just a consumer's terms. For $99, you would not be able to see one of these artists, much less 13 of them.
Trust, my daughter's trying to get tickets to see Billie Eilish in London. Their ticket is $500.
And I'm going to say something because I've already looked, because we kind of broke the news about this concert when it came out.
We did.
Those 90, I was literally here sitting in this chair.
We were the first one.
We were the very first.
Later with Mo Kelly was the first show
Later
to
with
talk
Mo
about
Kelly
it.
was the very first show in Los Angeles to talk about it, long before you heard any promos. Man. No, I agree with you. Here's the challenge, though. And remember, I'm saying this not in a cynical way, because every single penny is going to an incredibly important situation to assist with, but those $99 tickets are long gone. So,
okay, let's say the next tier up. You're still not
$1,500.
Okay,
is the next tier up.
KFI AM 640. We're live everywhere in the iHeartRadio app.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
And coming up at the top of the hour, I'm always so glad to see my brother in studio with us, Nick Pagliocchini. It's our new segment, What's Up with Nick. What's up, with Nick. Yeah, not what's up with
Nick. Just
Nick.
like Later with Mo Kelly.
Right.
Yes.
Because if you say Later with Mo Kelly, that sounds negative.
Nah.
When you say what's up with Nick,
right.
It sounds negative. But when you
goes really well with the show that started here this weekend with Nick Pagliocchini. Yeah, there you go. So all that stuff.
What do you have coming up at the top of the hour?
I'm excited because it has been, I don't know. First of all, I'd like to say welcome to Tuesday, the 49th of February is what it feels like, without a joke in my, just saying that. But I want to talk about what's going on in the Southland. We've already covered a lot here. We've got Fire Aid coming up. We've got so much else. But also tomorrow, a good portion of not just Southern California, especially in Orange County, Garden Grove, Westminster, Santa Ana, will be celebrating Lunar New Year. And so that's what we're going to preview, and we're going to talk about a lot of things that you can do and enjoy in and around the Southland, give you a little bit of history and background on Lunar New Year as well. And I want to talk about biggest Vietnamese community outside of Vietnam is in Orange County. We've talked about it here on KFI many times before.
And I didn't know that until you told me about that.
This was right? But it's wild to think that it's been something that, is, you could say it's something that we are very proud of here in Southern California, is the cultural diversity that we have. And not just, here in Los Angeles County, but LA County, Riverside County, San Bernardino, Ventura. Can you hear me? I'm just saying we have such a diverse group of people who come together. And a lot of the businesses that I've been talking to have been raising money as well for the fires, for the Eden Fire, for Altadena, for the Palisades Fire. So,
let me jump in
different.
there.
Yeah.
I think that's a function of, or byproduct of, everybody knows somebody who was impacted by these fires.
You're correct. And I think we've talked about here on later, but you and Tuala have specifically talking about the Dina, talking about the community that is, or, is there still. A lot of these communities have been affected, and they know people, and being of an international and a different cultural existence and experience here in Southern California, some of them are still pretty quiet and they like to keep themselves, but they've been doing just as much behind the scenes as much as they can to help support both not just their community, but the community at large. So we'll talk about that a little bit as well.
And you got to give us an update on what you're doing personally.
I'll be happy to, because Lord knows, since the beginning of December, I've been out of work. So let's be real and genuine and honest. That's how we keep it here on Later.
Keep it real.
No, but I think that's it. It's just like so many of you who are trying to figure out what's next here in 2025. That's what I'm doing, and pounding the pavement and seeing what there is out there. You can still see me on social media, Nick Poliokini, This Week with Nick, and many other brands, 15-Minute Foodie, and that'll be what we'll be delving into a little bit here with 85 Degrees Bakery. Which I was going to say you've thoroughly enjoyed. So you can
stop telling my business.
I was going to say you
stop telling my business.
But what's funny is it is for those of you who will participate in watching your calories coming in the new year. Some of the stuff is keto friendly. Some of it's kind of paleo. So I got your back.
Yeah, it's not completely sugar laden.
No, it's not. It's not. But it's delicious.
Oh,
and it has really so many. And we're also going to try something that is very different. This is specific for Lunar New Year. Golden yolk red bean pastry.
Say that again, slower.
Golden yolk.
Uh-huh.
That the eggs that we keep talking about, prices. Yeah, that. Red bean pastry. So this is going to be one of the things that a lot of, especially in Taiwan, but a lot of different places have different things that they do to celebrate Lunar New Year. So we're going to delve a little bit deeper into that. But yeah, that's pretty much what I've been up to, is trying to figure out what's next. And I think that's what a lot of us are doing right now, is kind of figuring out what's next. It's the new year. We always are trying to figure out what's next and what's new for each of us. And some people subscribe to resolutions. I just need a job. So if that's my resolution, is finding a job and finding the next thing. But I think the thing that I have done the most between last year being let go by iHeart and then also, still coming around, is where have I been able to help out? And I think being able to really get into it because of the incredible connections that I was able to make here over 18 years, specifically since the launch of Later with Mo Kelly and being a part of that inaugural season, and then going all the way through 2024 and everything else that we've been through. It's amazing because my DMs are open. And if you want to reach out to me, Nick Poliokini, This Weekend with Nick on Instagram, that's the easiest way to get hold of me. But I've been able to coordinate so much with, connecting businesses and people and trying to find those things. I mean, the thing that we have not really talked about, the Grammys are coming up. It's kind of crazy to think that the Grammys are right around the corner. There's an event that I came from earlier today, getting to kick off the Grammys. I'll be also participating in Grammy functions that are coming up. We've got the Super Bowl we got that game around the corner. We've got
you can hear the rules. You can talk about the Super Bowl.
Okay.
You just can't use it to promote a product and use the name Super Bowl. Look, I could tell people, I'm going over to Tuala's house. We're going to watch the Super Bowl together.
In that context.
Right. But I can't say, hey, tune in to Later with Mo Kelly, where you can win your chance to go to the... Can't do that.
That game.
Yeah.
I got you. Okay. So with that, it just being able to really, Tuala, I love your contemplative thoughts. If people could see us in studio, I think that's the thing. This show, many shows on radio, period, would benefit highly from having a camera in their face. But this show,
No, we're working on it.
I feel that, and I can't wait for that. And we've done how many Instagram lives here too?
Right.
So you do know, but our faces.
But there's certain things which
tell
should
stories.
not be for public consumption.
You're correct.
Some of the conversations during the break and the facial expressions during the break. I mean, the fact that Mark Ronner doesn't wear pants in the newsroom. He says it like he's kidding, but he's actually telling the truth.
I'm impressed that they finally got you a little like knee blanket or whatever you have in there, Mark. I don't know if it's a modesty thing or if it's keeping you warm or what the story is, dude. Yeah, kind of. I was like, it's not very large, but
I really enjoy watching how you guys twist around to find a way to get me involved in these Baroque insults.
We don't need to get you involved.
No insult here.
It's time to go to break.
We know you're keeping the seat clean.
Look at the time.
We know that. The seat must stay clean.
Yeah, it's the best seat in the house because Lord knows in here,
Wet
no one
wipes.
sits here normally.
Well, you don't need pants to do the news, do you? I mean,
We'll find out in a second.
You think Walter Cronkite wore pants? I think not.
KFI AM 640, more simulating talk. Let's go.
Yeah, live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app.
Yeah.
Phone, car radio, smart toaster. We don't care how you listen, just that you do.
KFI.
And KOST HD2.
Los Angeles, Orange County.
Live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app.